My daughter asked me for money for her wedding, but she also made it clear that I was not invited. She said I would not fit in at such an elegant venue, that I was too plain and might embarrass her. What Claire did not know was that the estate, the company that owned it, and several other properties in Charlotte were in my name. My name is Linda Parker, and for 17 years, I believed my life was in order. I had a husband, a beautiful daughter, and a marriage that I considered rock solid. It was not a perfect life, but it was mine. I worked as an accountant for a logistics and distribution company in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was good with numbers. I liked making sure everything balanced out: income, expenses, taxes, tuition, and household bills. My husband, Hugh Carter, was a regional sales executive for an industrial materials company. He traveled often to Atlanta, Nashville, Richmond, and Orlando. I had grown used to his absences, and at first, I still looked forward to him coming home. Claire was 15 when I started noticing that something was wrong. She was smart, energetic, the kind of kid who fills a house with life without even trying. I watched her grow and thought every sacrifice was worth it for her. We lived in a comfortable apartment in the South Park area. It was not luxurious, but it was clean, well-kept, and full of memories. I thought that was happiness, a normal life with normal problems, but with love. I know now that I was fooling myself. "When are you coming back this time?" I asked Hugh one afternoon on the phone. "I think Thursday," he replied. His voice sounded flat. "Do you want me to make something special for dinner?" "Do not bother. I am going to be tired." That should have been my first warning. Before, even if he arrived late, he would sit at the table and tell me about his trip. But during those months, he came back different. He would drop his suitcase in a corner and barely give me a peck on the cheek. "Are you okay?" I would ask him. "You seem off." "I am tired, Linda. Do not start." That phrase began to repeat itself so much that I ended up keeping quiet. I thought it was just stress or a rough patch at work. I convinced myself that if I was patient, everything would go back to the way it was. Claire noticed it too. One night, while we were washing the dishes, she said quietly, "Mom, Dad is acting really weird lately." I felt a knot in my chest, but I faked being calm. "He is under a lot of pressure at work, honey, but he is being mean to you. He will snap out of it." I wanted to believe it myself. I tried harder. I cooked meals that used to make him smile and watched my tone so I would not annoy him. I thought that if I were a better wife, he would remember why he had stayed with me. There was no big dramatic scene. It happened on a Tuesday after work, with his shoes tossed next to the couch. He had just gotten home. I sat in the living room and checked my messages. There was one from a woman I did not know. In her profile picture, she looked polished, confident, with a perfect smile. I almost ignored it, but something tightened in my stomach. The message read, "Hi Linda, I think it is time we talk. I am your husband's other family." I froze. I kept reading with shaking hands. "Hugh and I have been together for 3 years. We have a beautiful son, the boy he always said he was missing. He has built a life with me, and even though it hurts you, he is at peace with me." For a moment, I thought it was a cruel joke, a mix-up, a lie from someone who just wanted to cause pain. Then the screenshots arrived. Dozens of text messages between Hugh and this woman, Diane Bennett. In one conversation, Hugh had written, "I cannot stand looking at her anymore. She let herself go, completely. I dread even sleeping next to her." In another, he wrote, "Her cooking makes me sick. That house suffocates me. If it were not for Claire, I would have left years ago." I read those sentences over and over, as if my brain refused to process them. This man was my husband, the same man I made coffee for, the same man I had waited for through so many business trips. Diane's last message completely broke me. "If you have any dignity left, let him go. Hugh does not love you. He has not loved you for a long time." The living room started to spin. I tried to stand up, but my legs would not respond. My cell phone slipped from my hands and hit the floor. Then everything went dark. I woke up to Claire's voice right next to my face. Mom, please answer me." I was on the living room floor. She was crying while holding my hand. "I am calling 911. "No, honey, I am fine," I tried to say, but my voice came out weak. She called anyway. She also called Hugh, terrified, not yet knowing how to process what she had seen on my phone screen. The paramedics arrived shortly after. They checked my blood pressure and asked me questions while Claire refused to let go of me. The phone was on the coffee table, still open to those messages. Then Hugh walked into the apartment. "What happened?" he asked. For a split second, I saw concern on his face. Then he looked at the cell phone, saw the screen, and his expression changed. It was not fear. It was not shame. It was annoyance. "Is it true?" I asked him. "All of this is true." He did not try to deny it. "Yes," he said. Claire let out a choked gasp. "How could you do this to my mom?" she screamed. "How could you?" Hugh clenched his jaw. "I am sorry you had to find out this way." I looked at him, waiting for an explanation, an apology, anything that resembled the man I had married, but he just said, "I do not love you anymore, Linda. I have not for a long time. I want a divorce." The paramedics discreetly stepped aside. Claire kept crying. I did not say another word. At that moment, I simply could not. The following weeks passed as if I were living behind glass. I hired a lawyer, started the divorce process, and signed papers that felt like they belonged to another woman. Hugh did not fight much. He agreed to pay alimony and cover a portion of Claire's high school expenses. I think he was just in a hurry to shake off the life he no longer wanted. Claire stayed with me. At first, she was my rock. She would hug me at night. She told me we did not need Hugh, that she would never abandon me. "It is just you and me, Mom," she repeated. I clung to those words. Time moved on. 2 years later, Claire graduated from high school. Hugh and I split her expenses evenly because we both wanted her to get a degree. It was one of the few things we could still agree on. Claire chose to attend the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. It hurt to see her go, but it also filled me with pride. We left Charlotte early, before the traffic got bad, and arrived in the afternoon, exhausted but on time to move her things into her dorm. I helped her unpack clothes, books, documents, and a blanket she had loved since she was a little girl. When I said goodbye, I hugged her tight. "Call me when you get back from your classes," I told her. "Mom, I am going to be fine. I know, but call me anyway." For the first few months, she did. She told me about her classes, her roommates, the strict professors. I looked forward to those calls like they were actual visits. I would sit by the window and listen to every detail just to keep feeling like a part of her life. Then the calls started spacing out. "Sorry, Mom, I have too much homework. I cannot talk today. I am studying with some friends. I will call you this weekend." The weekend would pass, and she would not call. When I pushed, her answers were short. "I am busy. We will talk later. Do not make a big deal out of it." She told me college was taking up all her time. I wanted to believe her. At first, Claire said she only saw Hugh because he was her dad. Then she started spending more time with him and stopped telling me when she went to visit, until she eventually stopped coming home to Charlotte altogether. "Are you coming home for Labor Day weekend?" I asked her once. "I cannot. I have papers to write. Could I come visit you?" "No. Mom, seriously, no. I am completely swamped." That night, feeling lonelier than I wanted to admit, I opened her social media. I was not trying to spy on her. I just wanted to see her face. At first, I found the usual things: photos with friends, coffee shops, study notes, college posts. Then I saw a name that made my blood run cold. Diane Bennett, the woman who had destroyed my marriage, was on her friends list. I clicked on her profile with ice-cold hands. What I saw made me sit frozen in my chair. There were pictures of Claire with Hugh, Diane, and a little boy. They were smiling in restaurants, at shopping malls, and on weekend getaways. In one picture, Claire was hugging Diane, as if she had known her all her life. One caption read, "Finally, all together." Another said, "A complete family. A complete family. Without me." I took screenshots and sent them to Claire. Then I called her. She answered on the third try. Before I could even speak, she said, "I knew you were going to find out sooner or later." I was speechless. "Why, Claire?" I finally asked. "Why did you lie to me?" "Because I did not want to listen to your complaining. I am your mother." "I know," she replied with a coldness I had never heard from her before, "but I have fun with them. My dad and Diane take me to cool places. They buy me clothes. They help me when I need money. Dad bought me a Honda Civic for my birthday." I felt like I could not breathe. "And what am I to you?" There was a brief silence. "You are my mom, but everything feels sad with you. The same apartment, the same topics, the same complaints. With them, everything is different." Every word hit me in a different spot. "Claire, I raised you, and I am grateful for that. But I am an adult now. I can decide who I want to spend my time with. Diane is not doing anything wrong to me. Actually, she treats me better than you do lately. Better than I do. You are always hurting, Mom. It is exhausting. I sat there with the phone pressed to my ear, listening to my daughter justify the exact same betrayal she had once cried over with me. If you do not like it, that is your problem, she said finally. I am not going to stop seeing them. She hung up. That night, I cried in a way I had never cried over Hugh. What Claire did hurt differently. I did not know where to put that kind of pain. My friends listened to me, sure, but none of them could understand that mix of shame, abandonment, and guilt. Then I thought about my father, Ernest Parker. I had not spoken to him in almost 18 years. The last time we saw each other, we argued over Hugh. He is not the man for you, Linda. He told me one afternoon when I was determined to get married. You just do not want me to be happy, I yelled at him. I want you to open your eyes. You just want to control my life. That was the last thing I said to him before walking out of his house. I chose Hugh over my own father. For years, I convinced myself I had made the right choice. Now, it killed me to admit that he had been right. I looked up his number. I did not even know if it still worked. I dialed with my stomach tied in knots. Hello, a deep voice answered. He had not changed that much. Dad, I said, my voice breaking. It is Linda. There was a short silence. I thought he was going to hang up or yell at me for all those lost years, but he just said, "Come home, sweetheart." I covered my mouth to hold back a sob. Can I come right now? Of course. I will text you the gate code. I was confused. The house where I grew up had a rusty old gate you had to push open hard. I drove out there with my heart racing. When I arrived, I barely recognized the place. My modest childhood home had been transformed into a sprawling estate behind a secure, gated entrance. My dad was waiting for me at the front door. He had more gray hair. His shoulders were a bit more stooped, but he had the same kind eyes. "Welcome home, Linda," he said. I ran to hug him. I cried against his chest, just like when I was a little girl. He did not ask me why it took me so long. He just held me. Inside, the house was entirely different. My dad made coffee as if I had just been over to visit the week before, instead of after so many years. "What happened with all this?" I asked. He smiled humbly. "A lot of things happened while you were gone." My dad had always been good at buying cheap, fixing things up, and renting them out. When I was a kid, I watched him repair rooms, negotiate for materials, and collect rent from a small storefront near downtown. I had forgotten about that. He told me that after I left, he threw himself entirely into his work. First, he bought a small warehouse, then a strip mall, and later apartment complexes to rent out. Over the years, he learned about zoning permits, contracts, property management, and maintenance. He reinvested everything he could, renovated old properties, and partnered only with serious business people. "I have about 30 properties now," he said. "Commercial spaces, warehouses, apartment complexes, and a couple of event venues." It did not happen overnight. Then it was my turn to speak. I told him everything. Hugh's coldness, Diane's message, the screenshots, the son, the divorce, and the way Claire ended up getting closer to them. When I reached that part, I could not keep my voice steady anymore. "Forgive me, Dad," I said. "You warned me, and I turned my back on you." He sat next to me and took my hand. "I forgave you a long time ago, honey. I was unfair to you." "Yes," he said calmly. "But you were in love, and I was too harsh. The important thing is that you are here." From that day on, I started visiting him regularly. We ate dinner and talked about my mother, about Claire, about the years we missed out on. We did not pretend that nothing had happened. One afternoon, while we were drinking coffee on the patio, my dad made me an offer. "Come work with me." I laughed, thinking he was joking. "Dad, I am an accountant. I do not know anything about real estate. I need someone to watch the numbers and someone I can trust. I will teach you the rest." At my age, Linda, you are not old. You are just tired. That sentence left me speechless. I accepted. I started by reviewing accounts, lease agreements, rent payments, and maintenance invoices. Then, my dad taught me how to appraise properties, spot risks, negotiate without giving away my labor, and deal with difficult tenants. For the first time in years, I felt my mind waking up. Numbers were still my territory, but now they had walls, doors, and real-world stakes. I liked feeling that my life had not ended with my divorce. Almost 4 years passed like that. I continued watching Claire's life from a distance. Not every day, because it hurt, but enough to know she was about to graduate college. I found out through a social media post, not from her. Even so, I texted her, "Congratulations, honey. I would love to be there for your graduation." Her reply came hours later. "Do not come, Mom. Diane says it would be awkward, and I do not want any drama on my big day." I stared at the screen. I did not cry like before. The pain was still there, but it had grown much quieter. The photos of the ceremony popped up later. Claire, in her cap and gown, smiling, hugging Hugh. Diane standing next to her, looking elegant. Her half-brother, much older now, was in the frame with a crisp new shirt and a shy smile. Once again, a complete family without me. My dad saw my face that night and did not ask too many questions. "Come on," he said. "Let's go get some dinner." Shortly after, one night at his house, I noticed he was more serious than usual. He had left half his food on his plate, and his hands were shaking. "Are you feeling sick?" I asked. "I need to tell you something." He led me to his home office. There were bookshelves, company binders, and a framed photo of Claire as a little girl on his desk. It hurt to see her there. "Sit down, sweetheart." I felt scared before he even spoke. "I have cancer," he said. It took me a few seconds to process it. "What?" "They caught it right before you came back. When you started working with me, I was already undergoing treatment. I was stable for a while, but in the last few months, it came back with a vengeance." I stood up abruptly. "Why did you not tell me?" "Because you had just come back. We needed time to be okay. I did not want you returning to me just out of pity, Dad. I also needed to prepare you for the company. I did not want to leave you alone with something you did not understand." I knelt beside his chair and took his hands. "Do not talk to me like you are already saying goodbye." He stroked my hair. "We had these years, Linda. We talked. We forgave each other. We worked together. For me, that was a lot." 3 months later, he died. I organized the funeral. I chose simple flowers, soft music, and a service at the church he used to attend every now and then. His friends, employees, and business partners filled the room. Everyone had a good story about him. I texted Claire, "Your grandfather passed away. The funeral is on Saturday. I would like you to come." Her reply was instant. "And why should I care? My dad says he was a bitter old man. I am not going." I read the message several times. That bitter old man kept a photo of her on his desk. He asked about her even when my silence hurt him. "More than once," he told me. "Whenever Claire wants to come over, she has a home here." But Claire never came. At the funeral, I had to speak in front of everyone. For a moment, I thought I would not be able to. Then I looked at the picture of my father. I took a deep breath and talked about who he really was. A stubborn man, yes, but incredibly loyal. A man who waited for me for almost 18 years without locking his door. Then came the will, the lawyers, and months of legal paperwork. The estate, the company, the event venues, the commercial spaces, the warehouses, and the apartment buildings were all left in my name. When it was all over, I realized my dad had left me his entire life's work wrapped up in a massive responsibility. I did not move into the estate. It was beautiful, but it felt too heavy for me. I had it prepared and added it to our long-term rental portfolio. I preferred to stay in my apartment. I renovated it exactly how I wanted. My neighbors knew me. The area was convenient. That place, even if Claire looked down on it, was my home. The next 2 years were quiet. The company grew. I learned to make tough decisions without trembling. Slowly, the employees started seeing me as the CEO. My personal life still had a hole in it. Not because of Hugh. I expected nothing from him. It was Claire who still hurt me. Then, one afternoon, my cell phone rang. It was her. "Hi, Mom," she said, as if we had just talked the week before. "I am getting married." I froze. "You are getting married?" "Yes. His name is Ryan. We are coming over next week to talk about the wedding. He wants to meet you." She did not ask if I was free. She did not say she missed me. She just announced it. Even so, for days, I cleaned and prepared the apartment like I was hosting a party. I bought good coffee, fresh pastries from a local bakery she used to love, and snacks. I scrubbed every corner. I wanted to see her, even if it hurt to admit it. Claire arrived with Ryan on a Saturday afternoon. He seemed polite, a little nervous. He greeted me respectfully. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Parker." "Welcome, Ryan. Come on in." Claire walked in, looking around. Her eyes scanned the living room, the furniture, the new curtains. "You are still living here?" she said. "Yes, I am perfectly fine here. Still just as plain." Ryan looked down, visibly uncomfortable. I pretended I did not hear the insult. I made coffee. "I also got some muffins from that bakery you loved when you were little." "I do not really eat carbs anymore," she said. "But thanks." We sat down. "Tell me about the wedding." Claire's face lit up. "We want something spectacular. Nothing simple. Ryan comes from an important family. My dad is inviting corporate partners from his firm, and Diane knows people in high society. We need an elegant, exclusive venue. We are still looking at options," Ryan said. "We want something beautiful, but we also want it to make sense financially." Claire shot him a look. "It is going to make sense. You only get married once." I nodded. "Do you have a date?" "In 6 months," she said. "That is why we are here. Weddings cost a lot. Just the deposit for the venue takes up a huge chunk of the budget." That is when I understood. "Of course. I can help you out." Claire sat back in the couch. "With how much?" Ryan turned bright red. "Claire," I took a deep breath. "I can give you $10,000. Claire raised her eyebrows as if I had offered her spare change. "Well, I guess it is something." Ryan looked mortified. "That is a very generous contribution, ma'am." "Thank you." "Yeah, thanks," Claire said without an ounce of emotion. "Diane already offered to pay for my dress and the honeymoon. My dad is chipping in too, but every bit helps." They did not stay long. Ryan thanked me again. Claire barely gave me a quick hug. When I closed the door, I stood in absolute silence in the middle of my living room. With the company my father left me, I could have helped out with far more than Claire could ever imagine. But she did not know that. And more importantly, she did not care to know who I really was. I decided to wait. Over the next few weeks, I checked the mail waiting for an invitation. Nothing. No call, no visit. Just a text from Claire, with her Zelle information, and a dry sentence. "You can send the wedding money here." I did not reply. One night, I checked her social media. There was the post. "We finally found the perfect place. The Magnolia Estate is everything we dreamed of. Elegant, exclusive, gorgeous. We just need to sign the contract." I stared at the name. The Magnolia Estate. One of the most highly sought-after event venues in our company's portfolio. Sweeping lawns, bright stonework, glowing terraces, and a waiting list that most couples accepted without complaint. Chloe, my assistant, confirmed the next day that Claire and Ryan had an appointment to review the contract, but they had not signed or paid the deposit yet. The date was only on a soft hold. The venue was mine. I barely smiled, not out of joy, but because I saw the sheer irony of it. Claire had chosen it because it represented everything she believed. I could not give her luxury, status, elegance, money. A week later, Claire showed up at my apartment alone. She sent a text right before, "I am heading over. I need to tell you something." She walked in without sitting down. She was wearing expensive clothes, a designer bag, and a rehearsed expression. "Mom, I want to be direct. I am listening. I am not going to invite you to the wedding." I felt the blow, even though a part of me already expected it. "Why?" Claire looked around the room as if my apartment was explanation enough. "Because the wedding is going to be at a very elegant place. Important people are going to be there. Ryan's family, my dad's business partners, Diane's friends. You just do not fit into that environment." I stood completely still. "I do not fit in. I am not saying it to hurt you." "Yes, you are." She got annoyed. "Mom, do not start. I am just being realistic. You are very plain. I do not want you to feel uncomfortable, or to do something that makes us look bad. Besides, it would be weird having you there with my dad and Diane. I am your mother, Claire." "Yes, but that does not mean you have to be at everything." I looked her straight in the eye. My daughter was standing right in front of me, but for a second, I saw Hugh. The exact same coldness. The exact same ability to cause pain, and then call it honesty. "So, why did you come here?" She lowered her voice slightly. "To tell you in person, and to ask you not to cause any drama. Anything else?" She took a breath. You can send a gift if you want. Money, preferably. I already gave you my Zelle. I do not know how much time passed after she left. I sat there staring at the closed door. Then I picked up my cell phone and called my office. Chloe, I told my assistant. I need to personally review the booking application for the Magnolia Estate. 3 days later, I walked into the executive office at the venue. The place was flawless. My property manager was sitting at the table with Claire, Ryan, and Ryan's parents. Claire was smiling, looking perfectly satisfied, until she saw me. Mom, she said, her face draining of color. What are you doing here? Ryan stood up immediately. Mrs. Parker. I nodded and took a seat behind the manager's desk. Good afternoon. Claire looked at the manager, then back at me. I do not understand. I opened the folder calmly. The Magnolia Estate belongs to my company, just like other venues, commercial spaces, and properties across the city. Her mouth fell open slightly. Your company? Yes. Since when? Since your grandfather died. The bitter old man you refused to say goodbye to. Ryan's parents exchanged shocked looks. Ryan stared at the floor. Claire turned bright red. But you live in that apartment. Because I choose to. But you said you could only give me $10,000. I said I could help you with $10,000. I never said that was all I had. I watched her expression shift. First came the embarrassment, then the calculation. I already knew that look. So, she said slowly, if all of this is yours, you can just give us the venue for free. Nobody spoke. Claire sat up straighter. I am your daughter, Mom. Or did you forget that too? All of this is going to stay in the family someday, right? You could start with a great wedding gift, the venue, and I do not know. Maybe help us with a down payment on a condo. Ryan looked at her, horrified. Claire, stop. You cannot ask for things like that. She ignored him. I closed the folder. No. Her face froze. What do you mean, no? I am not authorizing the rental of the venue. She shot up from her chair. You cannot do this. Yes, I can. There is no signed contract yet, and no deposit has been received. The date is not guaranteed, and the application is denied. Mom, do not do this to me. I looked at her with complete calm. Inside, I was hurting. Of course it hurt. But my voice did not shake anymore. I am not doing this to you. You decided that your mother was not good enough to sit at your wedding. You decided that my presence embarrassed you. I am simply making a business decision regarding my property. I am your daughter. I remembered that many times, Claire, when you stopped calling me, when you spent the holidays with them, when you did not invite me to your college graduation, when you called your dead grandfather a bitter old man, when you came to my home to ask me for money, and then told me I did not fit in. Her eyes filled with tears, but I could not tell if they were from pain or from absolute rage. You are ruining my wedding. No, you are just going to look for another place. There are plenty of venues in Charlotte, but none like this one. I know. I gathered my papers and stood up. Before walking out, I paused by the door. Claire, you do not treat the people who love you like a burden just because you think they have nothing to offer you. Mom, she yelled. Do not walk away. We can talk about this. I walked out without rushing. That was closure enough for me. 3 days later, an invitation arrived at my apartment. Thick paper, gold lettering, an elegant envelope. The wedding would no longer be at the Magnolia Estate, but at another venue. Nice, but much less exclusive. Almost at the same time, my cell phone buzzed. It was Claire. Mom, forgive me. I have been horrible to you. I messed up. I want you to come to my wedding. I do not want us to be on bad terms right now, when we could finally be close again. If what bothers you is my dad and Diane, I can keep my distance from them. Just please do not shut the door on me. I read the text several times. The words were perfectly placed. I had wanted to hear them for years, but something still felt wrong. She did not mention the pain she caused, or her grandfather, or her graduation. She was only talking about getting close right after she found out I had money. I replied carefully. When I chose your dad over my own father, I also thought I was choosing something better. I pushed aside someone who truly loved me for something that was a little shinier. It took me almost 18 years to realize that. Does that sound familiar? The 3 little typing dots appeared and disappeared several times. Then her response came through. It is not fair for you to compare me to you. I genuinely want to fix things. I did not text back. I put the invitation in a drawer next to a picture of my dad. I stared at it for a while. I am trying to do this right, Dad, I said quietly. The day of the wedding arrived. I did not go. I spent the morning in my office reviewing contracts. In the afternoon, I went back to my apartment and sat by the window. I did not feel victorious. I did not feel entirely at peace, either. I never stopped loving her. I just stopped letting her walk all over me. Later that night, I saw pictures on social media. Claire looked beautiful in her dress. Ryan seemed happy too, even though he looked tense in a few of the photos. Hugh and Diane were in several pictures, but they did not look as shiny as they used to. Maybe it was just my imagination. Maybe not. Since then, Claire texts me from time to time. Sometimes it is just a short message. Sometimes it is when she needs a favor. Sometimes she sends apologies that sound lovely, but they still have not reached the right place in my heart. I do not always reply. I do not hate her. A mother can feel betrayed, exhausted, broken, and still love her child. But loving someone does not mean letting them get away with everything. My dad waited for me for almost 18 years without locking his door, but he never begged me to walk through it. Now I finally understand the difference. I am doing the same. I still live in my apartment, even though I could easily move into a massive mansion. I still go to the company my father built, with endless patience. I keep learning and fixing my mistakes. There are days when I miss Claire, the way she was when she was a little girl. When she would run into the kitchen in her school uniform and tell me everything without me having to pry it out of her. Maybe one day she will truly come back, not for an event venue, a piece of real estate, a bank account, or a last name that opens doors for her. Maybe one day she will knock on my door because she finally understands what she lost. If that day ever comes, I will listen to her. I am still her mother, but I refuse to accept just any place in someone's life out of the fear of being alone.